well, let's get right into the face-off. It's going to be between Apex and CD, and I believe both of them are wearing, yes, there it is, former teammates right there. So, X-Soldier, my question is going to come directly to you to start. Being a former member of the team Apex or Noble, what exactly was it that caused you to leave and join CD?
Well, I didn't leave by myself. It was sort of the team's decision to make me leave. Let's put it that way. So, I mean, I'd rather not comment on that because I can't express my words the right way.
All right. Well, then, for you, Comps, my question is, do you think having a former teammate play against you is going to cause a bit of problem for you?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, he knows how the team works, how the team operates. He's been around for a while, so I guess he knows the ins and out of Apex. But if he's able to sort of counter that with his new team, then we'll see.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough.
So, X-Soldier, you guys picked up a huge overtime win on Thursday against M60s, so that's some points that you weren't expected to get. Do you think you guys can get a result tonight versus your former team?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a 5-1, just for fun.
Okay.
Well,
bold words. So, Comps, similar note, with Eclipse just getting the loss last round, do you guys have a little bit of extra motivation to kind of put some separation between you and Eclipse?
I mean, extra motivation? Not really. I mean, we're sort of expected to perform at the level we've been playing at. So, I wouldn't expect our pace to change at all for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But do you think Eclipse's loss, shows some sort of weakness that helps you guys out in the long run, seeing as how they were the team that was directly competing with you at the top?
Weaknesses in the long run? I mean, I don't think so. Maybe they just had an off day or bad RNG or something like that. I mean, this game is so dynamic that, anything can happen at any time. So, I mean, I can't really speak on their behalf to sort of, go and explain their weaknesses and whatnot. But, if they had a bad day, they had a bad day.
Sure.
If they're able to bounce back, then, that's what I'd expect from them.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, any final words, Comps, for your former teammate of X-Soldier and CD?
Nope. I mean, good luck and have fun tonight.
X-Soldier, what do you got for me?
Please throw some rounds. I want some points.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you in game. That's an interesting final thought when he just said we're going to do a 5-1 for fun. So asking now for rounds, I don't really think that's how Apex or Comps rolls. I don't think they're in the business of charity rounds.
Yeah, definitely not. And like you said, you didn't feel it was going to be business. It was going to be business as usual going forward. That tonight would just be another match, and even with Eclipse losing, they just don't want to take their foot off the gas.
Right.
They want to keep the same pace going into the finals.
Well, Comp said himself that X-Soldier does know the the ins and outs of the team, and it may come into play. It may not. They might have something to throw at CD kind of out of the normal or out of the usual, but it's either way, it's going to be one hell of a tough match for CD, which is going to lead us right to predictions. This one is really hard.
Yeah, kind of looking at it, you got to favor Apex as always.
I mean, that's a given.
Looking at the last match before that, I would have said, I did say Eclipse 5-2.
And I was right there with you.
Totally wrong. In fact, it was a complete reverse scoreline. However, looking at it, Apex versus CD have been playing well. And you got to remember, they played. It was 5-1 last time they played. I'm gonna have to go with 5-3 in favor of Apex.
Now, something that's worthy of note is that X-Soldier said it himself. It was actually a team decision to have him removed. So I wonder if any I know emotion and passion is going to be there for X-Soldier, but I wonder how that's going to affect potentially his calling against this team.
We'll have to see.
Got to be a little bit of salt there. I mean, he said it himself. I can't express the way that I felt, and that's fair. When circumstances arise and you're taken off a team for X reasons, and I completely understand him not divulging or sharing those. But something's there. Something's definitely there between these two as far as the team.
Just think about this: how crazy would it be if CD get a result right now on the tails of Eclipse losing to 7?
I would lose my mind. I don't know what would happen either way. Let's just get right into it. Apex versus CD.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
Starting it off on Himmelsdorf, Apex is going to bring 4 Batchats, a Gorilla 113, and a 251, while CD has decided to bring a 50B. Is that? It is. It's 3 E3s and an E4.
So that lineup was actually a little bit incorrect. It's Apex with a 215B, an IS-7.
You're correct.
250Bs, a 4005, a Batchat, and a 1390.
And we have seen Dodoma before in a 4005. That's actually not that surprising, but what is surprising is the lineup of CD. Again, it's going to be a 50B, and then 3 E3s. That is a Tier 10 tank destroyer, an E4, which I don't think we've seen this season as far as competitive play, and then the 2 Batchat Tier 9s.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how CD can make this work, to make, especially on attack, to make a lineup like this work.
Tell me about that E4.
So the E4, very similar to E3. Its frontal armor is not as thick. However, you get the added benefit of having a turret, provided it only has a 180-degree traverse. It can only look 180 degrees in front, essentially. So it can't actually spin its turret all the way behind. So if you can still track it and get behind it, you can still do the same thing that you do to an E3. Obviously, having a turret has a little bit wider range once it's tracked. However, still relatively easy to immobilize. The other thing to note is the commander's hatch on top of the E4 is actually a lot thinner than the E3's. The very similar brother. So it's a lot easier to penetrate when it's hold down, but it just has a little bit more mobility and it has a better turret, so it can be a bit more useful.
Okay, well, I'm interested to see how it works out in this lineup. But 3 E3s, that's also kind of throwing me off. We usually see 1, maybe 2 of those at most. One E3 is something that we're very privy to on this map. Pompous taking 2 huge shots, one of those penning, one of them not.
Yeah, so what happened is he took the HE shell from the 4000, or HES shell, from the 4005, and it did a little bit of damage. But that E3 being so heavily armored in the front didn't penetrate and didn't do a whole lot of damage. Meanwhile, the rest of CD making a play towards the south. It's a really odd split. Both the Batchats for CD are sitting here over at A0. The E3 is sitting there, hold down next to them. And so they have these 3 tanks completely isolated. And then it's the other 4 that are in the south here for CD. And you would have to imagine that Apex should be able to pretty quickly find a nice overmatch on these guns. And Canadian Impact with finding shots under the train tracks onto those E3's lower plate.
That's impressive, and that's why Canadian Impact is one of the best. Another thing that kind of baffles me on this lineup is the E3s are not known for gun handling. I mean, their turrets are fixed.
Yeah, so the gun handling themselves, they still are relatively accurate. However, not having a turret means that you have to move the whole tank to re-aim it, and then you have to re-aim in. So it's a bit of both. But overall, especially if you're playing a hold-down position where you don't have to move a lot, it's definitely favored in those sort of positions. Yep. However, right now, CD are using them to attack. Now, part of me wants to ask the question, was this a mistake on CD? Did they think that they were defending right now, and they brought this lineup?
That's a very good question.
Wondering if they were going to be playing hold-downs, because trying to utilize these sort of tank destroyers while attacking is kind of interesting. Now, they're obviously doing what they can. They can't call for a reset because they picked the wrong tank.
Exactly.
And even if there was a disconnect, they can't change lineups at that point. So something interesting to keep an eye on. However, they're doing what they can.
Another thing I'd like to note, James, is this is actually Team CD's best winning record map. This is the only map that they have a winning record on, really, or a positive record. So it's looking like Apex might take that from them.
Yeah, well, they're going to make it hard. And while this is CD's most winning map, it is also the map that Apex have the most wins on. Period.
It's a tough situation, you could say, for CD.
So, I mean, at least they're starting off with CD's strongest map. So if they were going to be able to get into this map, it would be right now. Meanwhile, Pompous actually just took a ton of damage up onto that hill. He's being chipped away by that 4005. And he's already down to 324 HP, so pretty much a one-shotter left for anything on the field. And you got to like this out of Apex. Very calm. They're holding firm right now, and Dodoma finally does chip away at Pompous.
4005.
So overall, down a tank already. They're down by about 2,500 HP.
This is a very unfavorable situation for CD right here.
Yeah, so they're trying to use the E4 to push the E3 up the 8 line right now. Trying to close in a little bit.
with 5 minutes, that's not something that you'd really want to see.
Right now, 50B's moving back up to the hill for CD. However, they are going to start trying to take some control along the D line. However, they don't really have anything left to really force any cap pressure. You could use the tier 9 bats, I suppose. However, less than ideal.
I don't really know what CD can do here, James.
The only saving grace that CD,
especially with their lineup is what I'm saying.
The only saving grace they have is with all those guns that can hit that hard. If they all volley the same tank, it will drop. There is no ifs,
right.
Like a bunch of 50Bs, like, kind of in that medium range.
Right.
If 4 E3s or mixed with E4s hit the same thing,
it's
gonna drop.
Tank, it's gonna die. Correct.
It's Dunskies at that point. So you kind of got to wonder if they can really make that work. Now, however, they're kind of set up in a situation where I don't know that they can do that.
Well, yeah, look at this split. There's no possible way that all 6 tanks can.
Now, they make it to Doma and External for free here with these bat chats and the positions they're in.
Look at the cap. I was going to say, even still 25 seconds. They've got to make some sort of play here to stop that cap pressure, and it looks like Germ is going to find the shot from the flank. Canadian Impact coming as well in the tier 9 bat shot. They're going to find a lot of shots onto CD as they pour over into the cap to find more tanks of Apex. And Germ is going to clean up X-Soldier in that E3.
And not looking good here for CD. Those
not
E3s both getting tracked out by the tanks in the south. And not a whole lot CD can do to salvage this round.
There's almost nothing CD can do at this point. This is going to be an Apex victory. And again, I almost do wonder whether or not it is going to be the fact that maybe CD thought they were on defense. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know what the decision here behind this was. External clean. This is literally just Apex cleaning up the rest of the tanks here. There it is. Apex gonna clinch the victory over CD. Almost. What's the word I'm looking for? Uncontested, really?
Yeah. Well, that lineup didn't leave them a whole lot of options. I'm relatively convinced that was a mispick, that they thought they were defending first.
That would be the most logical.
And readied up that lineup, because I didn't see anything that really resembled a game plan out of CD that game. Not to be overly harsh, but...
No, but it's true.
They kind of tried to open up something in the south, they tried to open up something a little bit in the north, and they tried to move everything up back to the north. The problem was all the tanks were so slow. Pompous got worked down by that 4005.
Yeah. Dodoma was also just finding those shots, and Canadian Impact as well.
Exactly, so it was... I almost want to say that was CD gifting Apex the win as opposed to the other way around, like X-Soldier asked for so politely during our face-off.
He did ask politely.
So you can't fault him for trying. That said, not happening. Not today,
Apex
anyways.
Very handily taking that victory over them.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at the damage, also, it's not too surprising out of either team, really. So we'll get to that in just a moment. And looking at it, all 3 D3s for CD doing goose eggs, just not able to get into that fight. Smiley Rage, the only one able to pump out damage at 3,000. But then looking over at the team from Apex, just everyone up on the board. Canadian Impact at 3K, Dodoma at 2,700. But then everyone else is within 1,000. It's a very tight group there, all of them able to get their shots in. Now, you would have liked to see a little bit better shot efficiency out of these 50Bs. However, they did both. Well, Akula picked up a kill, and Nits 444, but only doing 1,100 damage without getting a kill. So one of the shots most likely into the track, still cancels the penetration, but didn't get the job done.
Yeah, and then on the other side of things, Smiley Rage still somehow finding at least 3K damage. The guy's nuts, and that's why him and Pompous are still leading, not only for their team, but just in the Gold League in general, are leading the damage behind Vetro.
Absolutely. So, and that's the thing is, a lot of the Apex guys, in seasons past, back when they were Noble, players like Dodoma constantly would be on the top end of the damage for their team and in the league as a whole. And this season, just with having so many talented players in that lineup, they're all just kind of fighting for the same damage. They're not really able to get in there. And it just kind of gets spread out amongst everybody. So kind of interesting to think about. And it's just that trend that keeps continuing. Now, Canadian Impact is number 2 on the team as far as damage done this season. However,
destroying tanks, though.
Yeah, destroying tanks, he's still in the lead.
He's the one.
However, the thing is there's not a single player for Apex in the top 10 as far as damage got done this season.
Which is so... I mean, you would often think odd.
Well, especially with players like Dodoma or Photo Finish. Photo Finish has been putting up some insane numbers this season.
They call him the Jamaican sniper.
Yes, they do.
Well, I mean, they don't. We do. But
yeah, we do.
We're trying to make it stick.
That works. So, looking at it, we're only a few seconds away from going into the next round.
What I want to see is if CD chooses the same lineup.
Well, I can tell you that won't be the case. I won't spoil it past that. However, they've gone with a different lineup.
Yeah.
I do like what I'm seeing right now out of Apex. Nothing too crazy. Should lock things down nicely. You'd have to favor them attacking on Himmelsdorf. This map's one of those maps where it's kind of more even between attackers and defenders, so we'll have to see if they can get into the fight.
Well, I don't know. All I know is CD needs to pull something a little more creative out of the hat. That lineup did not work. Again, I really also want to ask them what exactly happened there. Going into the lineups for CD, it's going to be 3 215Bs, an E3, a 113, and then a 50B with a 1390. Apex bringing a 113, 250Bs, an IS-7, a grill, a Batchat, and a 1390 as well.
And right off the bat, CD going for a push down the 3 line. They're trying to open things up, very similar to Apex. They're just leaving Merles in that E3 in the north. However, Apex going pretty strong towards that 8 line right now. Only have the 1 medium of Canadian Impact up on the hill. So overall, pretty conservative lineup for both teams. However, looking at it, they're moving Photo Finish up that 8 line. He's going to be sitting there at that hold down. We've talked about this hold down before. It's a very, very strong position. And it's so hard to dig out. And the thing is it restricts movement of their team because it cuts off that whole 8 line. So they can't flex in or out of that 8 line at that point. They can't try to go with some sort of gimmick strat, or if they have anything sitting at the cubby at C9, they're going to be extremely hard to move in and out of those positions now.
On this, I almost want to say this is almost a standard offense from Apex on Himmels.
This is pretty much as standard as it gets for them. This is nothing new as far as the strat goes. We've seen this out of them before. They are starting to rotate Germ up to the hill so we can go down the 0 line and get in on the cap. So he started off in the south. He got some intel there, made sure no crazy push was coming through, and now he's moving into a position where he can go apply cap pressure. And Dodoma is just firing off blind shot after blind shot, just poking far enough forward to try to find an angle. Just blind firing where tanks normally sit, and then backing off before he gets lit and shots return.
Pompous also being one of the leaders here on damage for the entire season, finds himself set up in the 215B right over there at about C2. And I wanna wonder what's actually happening not behind, but in X-Soldier's mind. I mean, again, being a former teammate of Apex and understanding how they run offense on a lot of these maps, and what he wants to do to try to counteract that. I mean, they don't seem to be stale or stagnant right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And they've left that E3 just hold down right here. So he's going to make it hard for them to make any sort of push through here without eating a lot of damage. And they can HE splash reset the caps if they need to, which we've seen so often this season, especially with these little light tanks. Now, something we've seen out of the other regions is actually that they push those 1390s up against the wall and into those cracks, and they make it so they have a small profile as they can on cap. However, that isn't something that's really caught on here in North America or APAC, but some of the Russian teams have been seen doing that a couple of times so far this season. Photo finish just trying to play the hole down along the D line. He's just playing kind of passive, and they've actually they're setting kind of a trap essentially at this point. They've left these 215Bs down in the south, and they're hoping to catch some sort of lazy rotate from CD through the south. However, that's not what they're going to do, and they most likely will find this overmatch onto Germ for free. The only gun in position to punish is Canadian Impact on the hill. He might get some free shots off, but past that, I don't see a whole lot coming out of this push for CD. And this could be a near perfect bait and switch.
Yeah, a little aggressive play here on the south. And it is indeed a trap. Yep, the entire team of Apex is now shifting over to that one cap. This looks to be almost exactly the play that you were just alluding to.
So they've backed away before CD could find that 1390. And if they had pushed in and figure out there was nothing there, then they would have known this was coming sooner. However, they baited that out as long as they needed to, and Apex have now basically taken control of this one cap, and now Germ is free to just rotate over here, and you can start the cap pressure on the other end, and they're just making this defense just drive back and forth, and that is how you can really open things up as an attacking team.
This is what happens when you watch a top-level team. Apex playing almost flawlessly here and getting their strategy to work for them and against the team of CD.
Yeah, and just trying to break any sort of defense, especially when they're in a strong position, such as Himmelsdorf or Muravanka, for example, is you need to make the defending team move. And so what they're doing here is they're making them, all right, well, you have to come defend this 2-cap. And now once they realize it's not there because they've moved all the way to the 2-cap, that opens up a lot of options over at the 1-cap.
Sure.
So they have to rotate back and forth. And so you get these situations where some teams over-rotate or they under-rotate. And it's very hard to read, and a good caller will do a good job at constantly masking those moves and making it hard for their team to really get that sort of feel for it. And to note is because the response from CD was quick enough, Apex has actually decided to kind of go for the split cap play again, and they've sent Germ back over to the 2-cap to start up some cap pressure. And so now they're really leaving CD in a situation like,
what the hell is going on?
Yeah, we're on both caps. If you guys rotate over, we're going to get shots in the back because External, I guarantee, is going to have shots on these tanks as they leave if they get lit.
And then look at Canadian Impact's position as well.
Photo Finish is playing this position so well against those 215Bs, just enough to where his turret's seen. And as I say that, he did finally take some damage, but he was playing that position so well. And now the head shell's coming in against his gun mallet.
And with 60 seconds left on cap, you also have to note that there's only 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. So Apex is, although they are in a good position, they need to make sure that they either close it out by destroying all the tanks or by completing a full cap.
So that E3 just fired, and Germ's going to back out here and try to find some shots on the lower plate. However, even with the premium rounds loaded for that 1390, he's struggling to pen that lower plate.
It looks like the team of Apex is actually starting to move towards that 2-cap once again.
And the push is actually going to come out of these 215Bs for CD right now. They recognize they have an advantage, so they're going to try to push in and find Photo Finish.
Yeah, Maril is going to take all the damages, and he is going to go down to Canadian Impact. Nitz is going to find shots on a rename, but X-Soldier is going to clean up Canadian Impact for the trade. This isn't the worst situation for CD, actually.
Well, they're defending, and there's 2.5 minutes left. However, they need to make sure they keep their guns together and they don't give up too much HP unnecessarily. The other thing is the second base, being the one in the north, is down to 40 seconds on cap, so they can't completely ignore that.
No, they can't. What are they going to do here? What's the decision? As there's only 25 seconds left and not a whole lot of support there. photo finish is going to go down. There's no doubt about that, but there's only 10 seconds. And as I say that, a shot bounced off of photo finish. There's only 5 seconds now. Apex, and they're going to find the reset. But X-Soldier paid for it with his tank.
And now you would have to favor Apex in this situation. They should be able to just sit on cap and cap this out. However, CD are making a push through the courtyard. And very smartly, Dodoma and Germ are going to push across into the
other
cap.
side. There's no vision now. Smiley is the only one that would be in any position to really find that reset, but Germ now tucked behind the grill, and that should do it here for the team of Apex, 2-0 in favor of them over CD. Wow. So a little back and forth there. CD almost climbed into it, though. Almost climbed back into it, I should say. Excuse me.
Yeah, overall, I like that out of Apex. Very, very calm offense. They set up. They understood, all right, well, they have a lot of weight.
Too.
Yeah, and so they just played it perfectly. They didn't commit any tanks to one side. They made sure that they could make those tanks move around. And so they had to worry about the 2 cap for a little bit. Then they made them worry about the 1 cap, and the play was coming out over there. And then they went back. And so it kind of just made CD uneasy, and it kind of just left them in this awkward situation where they couldn't really get a read on it. And then you had individuals like Photo Finish who were just able to play some of those positions so well and really just slow things down for Apex and really make that round work for them in the long run.
No, and looking at the damage here, I mean, Photo Finish didn't necessarily do a crazy amount at only 1,400, but was he a good shield for the team of Apex?
Yeah, definitely. And Dodoma up on that hill firing off a ton of blind fire. He fired 13, only connected 5 to look at right there. So he was blind firing a lot, but he made the 5 shots that did hit count for 3,600. And then no one else on the team really doing too amazing. Once again, this is what we talk about when we talk about Apex, is they're just so consistent. They're a top team right now, but they don't have anyone that's just, head and shoulders above everything. They work so well as a unit, and the damage is almost perfect with Germ just down here not doing a whole lot. However, a 1390 shooting it at E3 frontally is not a great situation.
Yeah, and then looking at Photo Finish, I mean, he blocked 3,200 damage by his armor, and then he received 13 non-penetration hits to only 7 penetration.
So he was playing that hold down pretty much perfectly, like I said, and a lot of the damage he ended up taking was from the 215Bs loading their HES shells, trying to chip away some damage, a little bit at a time. I often call it death by paper cuts. And, they tried, and they eventually got him down, but it took them committing to a full push around onto him. And by that point, they were so far out of position that Apex were just able to clean it up.
Now, something I would like to allude to is our offline broadcast match. I don't know if we let everyone know, but it is Rival versus Aquatic M60s, and it's currently tied 1-1.
Interesting. So Rival, once again, those are some huge points for Rival right now, especially with 07 getting that victory earlier tonight. They need to make sure that they stay close to 07 because they were tied on points going into tonight, I believe.
And on the flip side, Aquatic M60s, they need to pick up this regulation win.
Yep. And actually, take that back. So Rival was 3 points ahead of 07. 07 getting the win. They'll be tied on 18. So Rival are going to want to make sure they put some more separation between them and re-get that 3-point lead. So they could really use that win right now.
Tied up 1-1. I got to imagine Aquatic M60s really are going to want to push for this, especially after finding out that Eclipse is lost in regulation. I don't know. It's been a crazy night so far. Anything could happen. We've seen Rival kind of step it up a bit themselves, and Aquatic M60s not so much with their stumble. So we'll have to see. But let's get right back into it with Apex versus CD and the next map.
So, lineups coming in here. Apex coming in with 5 bat chats, an E5, and an RU-251.
Definitely more burst than CD, coming in with 3 140s, an I-7, 2 bat chats, and a 1390.
Yep. So, fun fact for you all. Last time these teams played, it was actually CD that picked up a round win on defense. No, they were on defense. So
On steps.
So this is a map where they have shown that they can compete with Apex, provided that was almost 5 weeks ago now, and that was a
even
much
argue
different
that
lineup.
that was a weaker CD lineup.
A much weaker lineup, and bringing X-Soldier in, we'll have to see what they do different this time. However, this is one of Apex's strongest maps coming in here. They have They've played steps 10 times in total, and they've only lost it twice on either side.
That's quite impressive.
So a map that they obviously feel pretty comfortable on, so we'll have to see what CD can do, especially while CD is attacking, to really open this up.
We're seeing a very southern-heavy defense right now coming out of Apex. Normally, we might see Dodoma go towards A2 or A3 and try to go for that solo climb as quickly as possible. Sometimes we won't. Now it looks like we're seeing something entirely different from these two.
Yeah, they're making that play there. Smiley Ridge is trying to get up towards the A2 climb up here, where you can have some shots in the north. However, the problem is Apex has given up north control. They're playing entirely out of the south. They've left their E5 on the 2 cap, so they'll have some blind
I don't think
fire.
we've seen this from them ever.
No, and we've seen some teams kind of shift a little bit towards this, but this is the first time where we've really seen a team just commit all in towards the south. The furthest thing needing north being that 1390 just for some eyes, but the second that he feels that he's in danger, he'll just duck into the low ground and peace out. However, Photo Finish is sitting there on the cap. He's in that E5. He'll still have blind fire angles towards the 1 cap, but if anything does get lit, he should be able to fire off shots. When we say being lit, we're talking about when tanks get spotted, when their team sees them, and the whole rest of their team, hence in turn, can see them. That's when they can give those shots. Blind fire is when they're not lit and they're just firing where they think tanks are and seeing if they can get a connection. Anything that does any sort of damage, whether it be module damage or HP damage, to a tank will reset a cap. So what they'll do is when there's cap pressure going, if they don't want to commit tanks to light it, they'll sit there and they'll try to blind fire for a while and fire shots where they think the tanks are sitting and hopefully get those resets that way so they don't have to overexpose themselves and give up more damage in the long run.
Well, it is going to be CD putting on some early cap pressure, and that's going to be Gabe for them in the 251. And like you said, I mean, they've completely given up the north, and there's no one really that's going to find a reset shot, especially blind onto Gabe here on the cap.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at this lineup for a second out of Apex, we've talked about how consistent they are this whole season. But their top 2 damage dealers are sitting at 149,000 and 148,000. So their top 2 players are sitting within 1,000 of each other. And then on top of that, Canadian Impact and Photo Finish, both at 80 kills on the season so far. So there's the level of competition within this team is just mind-blowing. It's very similar with Eclipse.
Well, that's why, but, that's the difference in Apex. I guess, they do have players like Vetro and Eclipse that are the top damage dealers and the consistent performers, and that's the difference. Oh, wait a second. Fixer is about to be very upset as he is just decimated.
And the positioning out of Apex doesn't leave Smiley Rage with any angles, so a great understanding of the positioning of all the tanks. They understood if they pushed up against that berm, they could get that IS-7 for free, and now they're backing away with minimal damage coming onto them.
The thing, though, they are minimal. I don't know. Dodoma is almost out. Akula has also taken heavy damage, below half HP, and now Canadian Impact External and Nits. I mean, they've all paid a little bit, and I would say Dodoma a lot of bit for that kill onto the tank of Fixer Reloaded.
Well, they lost a lot of HP making that play. They still have...
but there it is. Akula find Gabe, and I stand corrected.
So that's 2 guns down for CD now, and they're up by HP by about 2,000, so that did cost Apex some HP. They got 2 guns out of it.
No, I agree with you.
And now they're leaving.
I was wrong.
And now they're leaving CD in the situation where they have to scramble to try to find something. And that looks like that something is going to be Photo Finish in that E5.
Or it might be Germ as Pompous pours over and finds him. That is going to be Germ down, but I would still say the damage has been done to Team CD. The life deficit is at least 1,600 here, which is, you could argue, a tier 9 tank.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so you got to favor Apex's position, bounce from Photo Finish on towards Smiley Rage. But overall, they're just so flexible. They've actually re-pushed External and Dodoma back up that 4 line into the middle road there. And so they will spot these tanks as they leave, and so they understand this flex is coming, and they will just choose to back out. And as I say that, instead of backing out, External's just simply choosing to scoot across the C line there to where he can rejoin the rest of the guns, and if they want to push on him, the rest of his team sitting over here along the 7-8 line will have shots over him. So just overall, very good positioning out of Apex.
This is a very dire position for CD. They're really not given much to work with here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, overall, Merles and Pompous are starting to push down towards this 2-3 line, hoping to open up some shots on External. However, Canadian Impact finds the shot on the Smiley Rage.
That is just further strengthening their case for a victory here. And it's just not looking good for CD. The Apex is going to go ahead and take another one, and they're going to lead 3-0 over CD here.
Yeah,
this is tough.
Overall, Apex just being very systematic with their breakdown. And, earlier, especially on maps like Cliff, I talked about stagnant defenses. And this is the complete opposite. This is they set up with the first play. They understood, all right, well, we're going to look for this and this. And then once they kind of understood, all right, well, they have a tank that's exposed in this area, so let's go get him and then reset. So they went, they pushed out, they got a kill, and then they backed off, and they regrouped and repositioned. And that multi-layered defense where you're not in one spot really can work for you. When you sit in one constant spot for so long, it's really easy for teams to kind of get a beat on you, figure out exactly where you are, and come up with a plan. When you can sit there and say, all right, well, we'll do this and this and this to break it, it's a lot easier to execute something as opposed to a team that's constantly repositioning, making it hard for the other person to kind of figure out how they want to break it. Right. And even if they can figure it out, the ammo rack on the Merles.
Just to add insult to injury, CD was already on its way out this battle, and that just happened to happen as well.
Yeah, so my point, though, is especially when your defense is moving around a lot, the other team is going to try to figure out what they can do to break it. When you constantly are repositioning, you're making them constantly change their plans and come up with new answers. And so when that happens, that adds more time to your clock, essentially, that you're wasting as a defense. And if the clock gets to 10 minutes and you still have one gun alive, be it 4 HP, you can still win. And Thomas Magnus finally goes down.
Now that could also hurt you, by the way, if your defense is a little too mobile and they're kind of out there, they can throw away a tank or two. Obviously, not the case with Apex right here, but I was just going traversely on the other side of things about being a little too non-stagnant.
And you have a very fair point there. But my point is simply as long as you are decisive in it and you have some sort of second play and then you regroup, it's going to work out for you.
And that's exactly what we just saw.
Now, I'm not saying I want to see defenses just 7 tanks and a ball just driving around the map. Not what I'm saying at all.
I mean, at least once I think that would be neat to watch.
I'm sure we'll see it. It's been done before. My point is simply have multiple layers and multiple plays and say, all right, well, if they do this, then our response is going to be this, and we're going to go capitalize on this, and then we can back off and regroup and get our guns together. And when you do that, you just become such a hard defense to break, and Apex just showed it right there. Even though they were a very mobile lineup, they played the defense, they played the repositioning game, and they never stuck in one spot for more than a minute or two, and they made it very hard for CD to do any sort of damage. And, looking at it, once again, look at this damage spread. Canadian Impact on top at 3,500. But then look at the rest of the tier 10s out of Apex. 2,000, 1,800, 1,700, 1,500, 1,500, and then Germ, who wasn't really focused on doing damage, at 4,800. And then the other thing to point out is Pompous, who's actually second on his team in damage done this season, is sitting there at 3,400. And looking at the season notes, Pompous is actually sitting in third right now on damage done this season, and because of Eclipse losing, you got to wonder how much damage Vetro managed to do during his match, and wonder if Pompous will be able to close on that.
I remember looking at some of those. He was top, I believe, on one, and then he was pretty much in the middle or down towards the bottom in a few of those closing matches. So
now, the biggest thing as far as points go and totals is CD need to pick up some more rounds, because the more rounds played, the more chances you have to get damage. So this sort of 5-0 route that CD are currently on is not going to bode well for that.
No, not at all. I mean, at least last time they got one round on the team.
Yeah. Now, I did say
Apex.
that was the defense they picked up a round on, and it's going to be the defense that they are going into right now.
We'll have to see. One thing I want to add is when you were talking about Apex and Plan Bs, I want to say with certainty that the best team we have currently in the league, and it's no surprise, is also the best team that has really executed having a Plan B well.
Yeah, well,
and it is Apex. I mean, they always have.
No matter what situation they've been in this season, even there was some matches versus Rival where they're down like 3,500 HP, situations that they shouldn't have been able to claw back out of, that they came up with a plan quickly and they executed. And they
not only did they claw
around.
back out, but they end up winning.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Apex don't have a regulation loss this season. They have one overtime loss to Eclipse in a very close series that could have gone either way.
Correct.
And the fact that, right now, that they're on track to another 5-0. I believe this would be their third 5-0 this season. So you got to wonder if they can keep that up. Looking at it, CD actually making a very aggressive play through the north. And CD coming in here with an IS-7, 3 140s, 2 bat shots, and a RU-251, a very similar lineup to what they just brought. Meanwhile, Apex coming in with a 113, 2 4 bat shots, a Grill 15, and an RU-251. And Germ is actually going to pop up on top of that hill. What that allows him to do is it allows him to see over the train tracks and to see what is exactly there. However, he actually didn't light the rest of the team of CD, and
he's going to get tagged.
They're going to spring the trap.
Is he going to make it out? Oh, he's trying. Oh, no. One shot away. No, and he doesn't make it out.
So that's a tier 8 down for Apex. CD going to have the extra gun alive right now. The other thing to note is it's actually Jojo Jackie, the new addition to CD, stepping into that tier 8 role for CD this match. Now, overall, Photo Finish and Akula are well, actually, excuse me. Photo Finish is turning around in that 113, and they've left Canadian Impact up on the boost at E1. Maybe Canadian Impact wanting to bid on that Boostmaster spot. But, that said, Photo Finish is going to back out, and they're just going to leave him up here, and he's going to be very hard to get at.
And this is also not a standard defense at all. From what we're seeing, this is a very aggressive, as you called earlier, north defensive push for CD.
Now the thing is there's that whole thing I was talking about being stagnant. You don't want to stay in one place or set positions for too long, and CD are going to do exactly the opposite. They're going to group up, and they're going to actually move around and go to retake that 2 cap and let Apex have this 1 cap. Now, the thing is Canadian Impact will spot some of these tanks leaving, and so they'll know that the rotate is actually coming through for CD right now.
Now, Apex didn't lose, a tier 10 heavy or something of that nature, or even a bat shot, but they did lose their ability to scout with that 251 of Germ.
If there's a tank you can lose, ideally, you want it to
right,
be the tier 8.
That would be the one. But even still, it's a tank down, and you got to favor CD in this, especially with the way that they've been keeping their defense rather clean, being aggressive when they felt they needed to, and making that work. Again, taking out the tank of Germ, and then not being stagnant and going back to a more standard setup we've seen.
Yep, and it's actually going to be Apex that's going to pull their tanks out of the south. Photo Finish has moved around to the 5 line, and they're setting up right now to retake this 1 cap. Now, the thing to look at is with Germ being down for Apex, who's going to be the cap pressure for them?
I mean, you would assume a bat shot.
It's really the only option they have at this point. So
they're not going to put the grill on there, I can tell you that. Maybe the 113?
Yeah, maybe more often. I think you're more right with the bat chat. So if we see him try to sneak there onto cap, that's going to be their best bet. However, he's going to be very exposed, and he's going to be a gun essentially out of the fight. So not a perfect situation for Apex, but we'll have to see if they can turn this around.
And only about 6 minutes left now. Apex have burned down quite a bit of time figuring out exactly how they're going to make this play. Now, they are set up for that 1 cap, and they still have external down. The bat shot to the south. So look for a push there from the defense of CD, but we've seen Apex come back from much, much worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And Canadian Impact's actually going to get up into the A3 corner there and try to make some of these tanks duck back down for CD. However, Batshot's not the best tank to be playing in one of those sort of pull-down positions.
And another minute has passed as we find ourselves at the halfway marker of this final side of this map. Steps, and it is, like you said, CD, the last time these two teams played, it was 5-1 in favor of Apex. And the only one round that CD was able to take was, in fact, Steps on defense. So we're seeing double cap pressure now onto the side of Apex for CD, and I wonder how they're going to deal with it. In fact, why don't we take a quick listen in with CD.
Yeah, 40.
With the RU, like
up the
Well,
middle.
we need to do it now. Fixer, go now. You gotta go now.
Oh my god.
I don't think we should we risk
30.
140x?
He tracked me.
Who tracked you?
Photo. He just like shot it, tracked me.
Yeah, he's trying
Real?
to cock. He's trying to stall.
There he is.
Fire, 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 fire. Punish,
One's
punish,
out.
punish.
Okay, they're backing off. We should probably just back off now.
They've got cover. They've got cover.
Back off.
Canadian Impact.
Impact's coming over on fucking Fixer.
Fuck boy bounced.
Stay there, Fixer. Just stay there.
What guy have to stay?
Can I get more 140s on my side? You guys have shots because Fixer's still spotting everything. Never mind. Impact going high.
Are you fucking kidding me at Mountain?
Watch the 113. How are we doing in the south?
Just
four
probing
shells left.
around.
Just probing around. Okay, just get in defensive positions. Just get in defensive positions.
Impact.
They might
We don't have
counter
shots
push.
on impact.
They might counter push.
Okay. I'm backing off. Too far.
Photo is fucking aggro on Oh, come on, guys. You have to get shots on
Can we
Photo.
play on this?
I've got
Oh
3
my
shells
god,
left.
who's pushing?
Oh, come on. You have to get shots on Photo, guys.
Nits.
Nets up. Nets up.
Nits.
His track.
I bounced on him. I'm
Watch
reloading.
for impact.
Impact's
I think they might have rotated, possibly, Jojo.
Yeah, they might have the grill back here still.
Yeah, he's still there, obviously. He's not
Yeah,
gonna
you guys play
Reloading for
aggro.
22
You guys play
seconds.
aggro now.
30 seconds, guys. Just hold out. Just hold out. Are you
job,
still got
Fixer.
hold of his health? He can still YOLO in for a reset if we ever need that.
Are you going to be able to get photo fixer or?
I don't know, dude. He's like.
I can't poke
defensive now.
around wide because the grill's probably
I
looking
can,
there.
yeah.
Let me try. I'll try. Let me poke out wide. Because the
Here,
bats
I'll-
just rotated out.
What are they?
So, comms actually not hectic at all for CD.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of time right now, and finally, side note, they kill Fixer after 2 minutes.
Yeah,
of,
that was Fixer playing that position well, and also the I-7 being such a good tank to have in a hold-on position. But go on.
well, and because he had just his backup just a little bit, it kind of changed the angles where the lower plate wasn't easy to pen, but the front plate still wasn't angled to the spot where they could really penetrate it easily, especially bat chats firing APCR. And so he was just able to ricochet shot after shot after shot for a while. It was getting ridiculous.
The one problem I did notice, though, for CD was they weren't set up to punish any sort of push, and that's what a few of their members were kind of complaining about.
Well, Smiley Rage was one of the ones being very vocal there about, people not getting shots. And
Yeah.
this round isn't over yet. There is a minute 20 left, and they do have tanks all the way in the south. However, if Apex can very quickly make a decisive push right here, and then in turn
but
maybe get
losing photo finish is not going to help. Real is going to fall here to Canadian Impact. There it is.
if they want a chance, they need to get Nits to turn around and go to the cap right now and get that cap pressure going. However,
Might actually be external as he's starting to back off now. But you got to watch JoJo, Jackie, and Pompous as they head towards that one cap. They should easily be able to find the reset shots, which would give no more time to Apex. And this is actually looking like it's going to be another victory on defense steps for CD.
yeah, so it's like I said, this is a situation that you'd have to favor them in. And so far, doing decent. Pompous picking up Nits. There are 3 guns left alive for Apex. However, with only 30 seconds left, I can't really see them finding a way to clean this up.
Yep, this is going to be 100% a victory for CD. Well done.
And going into our next map, it's not a map that CD have been very strong on. Apex haven't played it a whole lot. However, they have been pretty good on it when they do play it. So, just to spoil things, that will be Ghost Town.
Yeah, Ghost Town is actually the map where we saw their lightning. I guess ironically, you call it the Blitzkrieg cap of. I believe it was the one cap.
Yep.
Of Ghost Town against. It was against Aquatic M60s where the round was. Oh man, it didn't last very long.
It was just under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, as I don't want to point out there, it just doesn't matter, but Dodoma stayed alive with 2 HP at the end there. So I managed to live out through that whole round. But
Fixer Reloaded was almost like an impenetrable fortress.
Yeah, we'll check that out
for
in a
while,
second.
yeah.
Another thing to look at is going into this. You were just talking about Apex, getting that cap out. Defense isn't something that CD do terribly well on this map, so kind of got to wonder if this is going to be over right now with 5-1. Two quick wins for Apex and it's over.
It could be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Again, like you said, CD not terribly great on the map of Ghost Town, and Apex, although they haven't played it much, when they do play it, they win on it.
They barely hold at 50% on either side, and their defense is actually weaker than their attack. So, kind of got to wonder because the map's pretty heavily defensive biased. However, looking at this, just look at this thing right now. Fixer Reloaded,
almost 4,900 damage blocked, and he took 13 non-penetration shots with only 5 penetrating.
So just a great job there out of Fixer, playing that position perfectly, and he even put up 3,000 damage while doing it. So, you can't really complain there. And then, look at their team, just once again, very consistent damage out of everyone. Canadian Impact, 2,800, External at 23, Delma at 22.
It's like they're all robots.
They're all doing their part. It was just overall the game plan kind of broke down for Apex throughout that match, especially with Germ going down. That was a tank they couldn't put on cap. And then, overall, you got to like that for CD. It was a very solid defense. They kept it relatively calm. A little bit of frustration there at a few points, but overall they were never really pressured to the point where they felt like they were going to line something or maybe possibly throw around. They kept it very composed. They kept it tight, and they managed to pick it up.
Yeah, so the real question here that I want to ask is there anyone that can put a real dent in Apex? And I'm not talking like an overtime victory as we saw with Eclipse, but like is there a team out there right now in the North American division that can put a dent and put a real loss on Apex? So far, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, well,
especially leading into the playoffs and then the North American, our regional finals.
Well, where you really need to look is you want to take a second to think, how are these guys going to stack up internationally? How are they going to stack up versus the top EU teams and the top APAC teams at the Challengers Rumble coming up here in November? So, Apex playing very strong right now, and so I want to see how this sort of gameplay out of them will stack up versus teams such as Go Hard or Ding, some of the top teams out of the EU region right now.
Yeah. Because right now it looks like Apex is pretty much bound to dominate this region.
Yeah,
no one has stopped them. Again, you can argue the Eclipse overtime win, but it was still an overtime. It wasn't that decisive. Like you said, it could have gone either way. So I don't know.
Yeah, and we haven't seen anything out of Apex like we saw out of Eclipse just a short while ago versus 07.
Right.
We haven't seen any sort of those matches where they kind of let their foot off the gas and really let their team into it. If you want to get anything off Apex, you got to earn it hard. And you can kind of, earn maybe 1 or 2 rounds here or there, such as the defense that CD just picked up. However, going into Ghost Town, you kind of got to wonder if CD really have it to take it to Apex.
Well, let's get right into the third map between these two teams.
Ghost Town. The first absolutely symmetrical map, made especially for 7 versus 7 games. The teams start the battle on opposite sides. There are numerous ways to attack here. One of the bases is located in the central square, the other one at the top of the city. The hardest battles are usually fought for the top base, and this calls for the use of heavy tanks. Sometimes the teams choose fast tanks for spotting and base capturing.
So going into the lineups here, Apex coming in with 2 50Bs, an IS-7, a T-57, a 215B, and 2 Tier 9 bats. So all autoloaders except for that IS-7, and the 215B, excuse me. Meanwhile, CD coming in here with 2 215Bs, 2 50Bs, a Batchat, a T10, and an AMX-30. And it's actually going to be Merles in that AMX-30 who is going to go ahead and get up on the climb up at A1. And last broadcast when Bales on M60s was bringing the 30B. I said that the Tier 9 I felt was better Tier 4 tier than the 30B, mostly just because it doesn't have that giant commander's hatch on top of it. The gun isn't as accurate as the 30B, however, especially for Tier 9, it is still very accurate, still hits hard. DPM isn't the greatest, but in these sort of range positions where it's just a sniper tank, it's a fantastic little tank. It has great gun depression on top of that. So it's definitely a decent little tank to put up in these sort of positions. Hits a bit harder than, say, an RU, and also has a little bit more flexibility in the long run than, say, an RU on a map like Ghost Town. So it's an interesting choice.
That's what they decided to bring. I was hoping to see if we'd witness another lightning fast cap from Apex. Sadly, we are not.
They don't really have the lineup to do that unless they wanted to shove the Tier 9 bats on the cap. When they did it
time they
before,
used 2 Tier 10s,
they used the T10s and the 113, and they had a lot of those, heavily.
Did I say Tier 10? I think I did.
Yeah,
I meant the
T10.
Yeah.
They brought a lot of those tanks with good turret armor and very low profile, so they could shove them onto that cap.
Right. Well, obviously they brought Tier 10s.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And
so it was the 2 T10s. I couldn't remember if it was the T10s or I think the 113s, because we have seen them use 113s, but I think that was on mines.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it was a combination of both. I think it was the 2 T10s and then a 1390 they put on the cap. But I digress. Something else to point out here is you got to feel that CD should pick up this round, because if they don't pick up this round, they are 1-6 on attacking on Ghost Town. So defense is going to be their best chance to kind of pick up a point right now, and I definitely feel that this map is more favored to the defender overall. So they really need this round right now to even stand a chance at staying in this match with Apex. If Apex get this round out, I'd have to imagine this is going to end 5-1.
I'd be inclined to agree with you, James. There's really nothing from CD right now that is telling me that it's going to be otherwise, aside from, again, they just have it over Apex as far as defense on steps goes, but everywhere else, Apex still holds the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that the rotation's actually coming through the south for Apex, so instead of opting to go up to 1 cap, they're hoping to find some sort of overmatch or isolation towards the 3-4 line. However, these 50Bs of Pompous and X-Soldier might have a different idea about that.
I do feel, though, that CD has done a good job of almost cutting the map up for themselves in a favorable position, although Apex could do a lot of damage if they push in from the south right now.
Well, these 50Bs are just sitting here waiting for something to cross this 3 line, and the second it does, Smiley Rage should light it, and these 57s are going to come through, and this is going to be a lot of damage pumped out very fast.
Yeah, heavy damage finding its way onto Nitz and Dodoma. As they push over into Pompous Magnus, they should be able to take him out, and there it is. Nitz finding the kill in the 50B. He has paid for it, though. Now 1 shot away from being taken out, and Akula, though, has found X-Soldier. And that 215, and now shots being fired away onto Jackie. And Fixer reloaded. Apex split actually very well to deal with both setups of the team of Team CD, and then a track on a Smiley Rage taking almost 1,300 damage.
Great play out of Apex. They understood what CD were likely doing. They understood there was likely some tanks isolated, and they set up so well to deal with it. They left those consistent fire tanks sitting at F5, so when those T-57 and the 50Bs from Apex pushed around, and those 50Bs had to run, they ran into more guns, and it just did not work out well for CD. Now, this round isn't over yet. CD still only 1,000 HP down. However, all 7 guns are alive for Apex, so you got to imagine they'll find a way to clean this up. However, they really quickly need to find these 215Bs and get them down. If they can do that, then this round's over.
Yeah, Smiley Rage finding Dodoma as a consolation, but Team CD is slowly just bleeding HP all over the place, as now it's only 3 tanks left for them. And this should just be the case of finishing the round for Apex.
Yeah, and like I said, at this point, with CD being 1-6 on attack on Ghost Town, you can't really imagine that, against Apex, that they're going to get another win on attack, or while attacking. So you kind of got to feel that this match may be over now.
Yeah, I mean, it is over. Smiley and Mariel, both 1 shot away. As far as the series goes, I don't really know what CD has on this map for offense that's going to shake the foundations of Apex's defense.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to make it 4-1 in favor of Apex. The only round that Apex lost in this whole series so far has been that defense on steps, which, once again, attacking on steps is not an easy thing to do. I really feel that that's one of the maps, that and Ruinberger, the two maps where that map is so heavily in favor.
You say that, and then we saw 07.
Definitely. However, but that being said, but this is where the second part to my question comes through.
Yeah.
The defending teams on these two maps have such an advantage that the only way they're going to lose rounds is if they themselves make those mistakes over their team.
And you're right. I just wanted to throw that on top of you because sometimes strategies and advantages kind of get thrown on their head. But as you said, it is usually the defensive team that has to make that mistake. And, well, let's be honest, Eclipse made the mistake.
Yeah, and in this round, or this match anyways, CD didn't make a mistake when they were defending, and they were able to clean it up rather concisely. So
Apex, sorry.
No, previously.
No, you're right. Yes.
Yeah, so overall, very, very good play there. However, we should be on to our Little Beast 6 battle here in a second.
Well, as we look at the damage, though, Akula and Photo Finish as well. Again, the spread on this team is so stupid consistent. These guys are nuts. Akula topping it out with 3,400, sure. Then Photo Finish and Germ right behind each other. It's kind of weird to see Germ that high up. I mean, usually being in the Tier 8 light, he doesn't get the chance to do the damage. But even at a Tier 9 Bat Shot, able to find 2,600. And then Photo Finish 28. And moving down, External and Canadian Impact relatively close, 1,500 and almost 2K respectively for the External. And then Nits coming in a 50B. Not really able to do much work, but still finding about 1,000.
Yeah, well, Dodoma there was the first one that pushed around into those 50Bs, and he got focused out between Smiley Rage, Merles, and that 30B up on the hill, and then the 50Bs in front. And then same thing with Dex Soldier, who was the first one that all the guns came around that corner and saw. And then Pompous, trying to run away as well, ran into Photo Finish and Akula sitting there on the opposite end. So there was just nowhere left for them to go, essentially. So overall, you gotta like it out of Apex. It was a very well thought out plan to break that defense. They said, all right, we think they're most likely set up very heavy on the 3 line, but they'll have some tanks away. And so I like how they left those consistent fire tanks on the high ground, and they said, all right, well, what's going to happen is once we come around here, they're going to have to run somewhere. Yeah. And so they had more guns ready to shoot them as they ran.
Punished, yeah.
So it was overall just a great setup for Apex.
So I want to ask you, without looking anywhere else but at me, the last time I told you the scoreline between our offline match, it was 1-1.
Correct.
What do you think it is now, without looking anywhere else? You could look up.
Rival have been playing well, so I'm going to have to say 3-1 favor Rival.
It's 2-2. 2-2. Rival and Aquatic M60s are tied. Now, this, I don't want to say it's surprising because Rival, again, have been playing much better in recent as of the past. But I expected Aquatic M60s, especially after their loss to Team CD, to really, I really felt that kind of lit a fire up under their bums, if you know what I'm saying. And it's 2-2 to Rival. I don't know.
Well, the other thing I want to point out here, we didn't go over this earlier. Rival made a roster change, so they lost Aggressor, who just kind of disappeared and has reappeared on another team. But we'll get to that later. So they had to fill that slot. And so they actually got Blue Boy's captain, formerly of High Voltage Caballers, to fill in on that roster. Now, if he'll play and start, we'll have to see. He's always been a very consistent player through the years.
I was going to ask what his role was because we didn't really get to see him.
It's kind of shifted a lot over the years. He used to be a very talented scout player back in the day, and that's back all the way back on like 742 days in the early 754. And then he kind of switched more into a main tank player, mediums. Last year we saw him in a lot in T22s when those were still a thing, and 140s, and we saw him in a lot of mediums. Didn't really see him used in a whole lot of heavies. When they would bring a medium, say like Apex, they bring a Bat Chat normally with like Canadian Impact. He would normally play that role off on the side. And he's such a very smart player and intelligent as far as understanding when he needs to get into the fight and when he's been out for too long, and just kind of doing all those little offhand medium things.
As far as tanks goes really well.
That overall game sense. And so I think that's a really good addition for Rival. Sure. So hopefully it works out for him.
Yeah, and again, that's not me to say Rival is weak, because on the contrary, they've been showing a real knack for innovation as far as making sure that their lineup plays well together. They've been changing things up. Things have been working. They've been clinching wins where they should, and challenging M60s would be a great win for them. But especially after the loss of Apex here tonight, you got to guess that Aquatic M60s are just playing their absolute best.
Okay, I think it was the loss of Eclipse.
Or excuse me,
yeah.
the loss of Eclipse. For Aquatic M60s, they should be playing their absolute best. No, you're right.
If M60s,
what did I say?
If you said Apex, if M60s get 3 points,
Apex is very comfortably winning right now.
If M60s can get the 3 points, that is going to put them within 1 point of Eclipse in the long run right now, which would be huge for them.
Yes, because they were 4 behind.
Yeah, they're 4 behind. So then there would be 2 matches left for them to close that 1 point gap. So that would mean Eclipse in those last 2 matches would have to drop points somewhere.
Yeah.
So you got to wonder if that would happen.
That one is hard. I almost wish we could watch that one. I almost wish we could watch all the matches, every broadcast. But that one specifically, I really want to see what's happening, and I want to see the way Rival is playing again, climbing from their weak start in the first, and even you could say that the first week of the second round robin. But Rival is starting to come together as a team, and that could be dangerous for everyone.
Yep, and we'll get more into that in a minute.
Sure.
Looking at Apex, 250Bs, 2 113s. 215B, we actually have a disconnect call, so we will actually have to back out to the garage. They already took 1 timeout, so they'll be backing out here in a moment. So, looks like we had 1 person timeout, so we'll be just 1 moment until that gets restarted.
Luckily, that was caught before anything happened.
Now, this actually gives me a moment to talk about what I did want to talk about.
Yeah, please.
Looking at the schedule going forward, let's just think about this for a second. Just breaking
Pass
it
that
down
on this way. Let me see this as well. Ooh.
So, just looking at that real quick. So, right now, if M60s can get the 3 points, Eclipse still have Rival up next, which Rival are playing pretty well, and with Eclipse just picking up a loss, I'd be a lot more open to thinking that Rival could get some points out of that. So that would be an opening right there for M60s. And then the last match day, Eclipse have Deja Vu, and depending on which Deja Vu show up, could
true.
also be an opening.
That's very true.
Now, the problem is with this whole thing is during this same time span, M60s, they have high for the first match. So this match you'd pretty heavily favor.
You would favor them, sure.
However, next Tuesday is going to be M60s versus Apex. So if Eclipse does drop rounds, it's going to be M60s that have to go through Apex to maybe get that free pass to the offline regional finals. There
such a toss-up right now.
There are a whole lot of ifs involved in that. If they can pick up 3 points tonight, and right now they're down, or they're tied 2-2 with Rival. So they really need to dig deep. They really need some points there to really put the pressure on Eclipse and hopefully find an opening into the free pass to those regional finals.
Want that free pass so bad.
It takes so much pressure off because instead you have to sit here and play in the online playoffs to decide whether you're going to go to Burbank or not, to keep playing for that chance for another $325,000.
Yeah, as we said, fortunately for Apex is 100% confirmed. There's no doubt about that. They're coming here. Nothing is going to stop them.
I believe actually this win tonight,
and that's what I'm saying. With this win, there's nothing that is going to stop Apex from
they will
coming
at least take
here.
Second, if not first.
I'm going to potentially shake Comps' hand. It's going to happen.
Yep. So looking at the lineups,
and that's obviously if Comps wants to shake my hand.
A 215B, a 113, a T57, 250Bs, an AMX 30, and a Batchat AP.
I think he'll want to shake my hand.
And it's actually going to be Germ in that AMX 30 doing the exact same thing we just watched Merle's doing for CD. Meanwhile, CD come in here at 113, 2 T57s, 2 50Bs, and 2 T10s. So a lot of bursts and a lot of consistent fire out of CD.
Similar to what we saw from CD, it is again going to be an AMX 30 up there.
Yeah, and the thing is that CD really aren't playing into it or allowing it to be effective up there. That they're making Apex have to rotate around, and they're set up well for it. X-Soldier may take some damage right now.
All right, well, let's go and get a quick listen in with CD.
We should just push this fucking idiot over here, right?
There's Dodo up. Fucking kill him. 50B behind us.
Are coming in. Merle. Oh
wow.
My god, the ammo rack.
Oh. Get this.
I got kill.
Miro, drive forward, Miro. There's 2 guys coming in for kill.
I'm Orak and
Unfortunately, but I don't have one left.
Pick these, I guess.
They're
I only
reloading.
have 2 shells. Go for nits. I critted his fucking Coppola swag.
Nice.
Oh.
nice.
Legit fire right there.
Oh my god.
Morale, dude.
Way to go out in style.
Yeah, we got him, boys. We got the highlight reel for sure, boy.
I always wondered why he only had 1 pitch voice. Now we know he's autistic.
I only have one.
I said I always wondered why you only had one pitch in your voice. Now we know you're autistic.
Probably.
Well,
So Apex picking up a win 5-1.
Very
wow.
rude to their own teammates.
Can't even.
Apex, honestly, though, they were in a very good position. We saw Dodoma poke over, and as soon as CD called for that, the rest of Apex was there to just punish the hell out of CD.
Yeah, overall, it was just a very good response out of Apex. And
Yeah.
I liked the play because they left CD between a rock and a hard place, essentially.
Yeah,
they left him in
they
that
really
corner.
did.
If they wanted to get to the guns on the far side, they had to push straight through everything, and that was going to cost them a lot of HP. But then those 50Bs came in behind, and so when they tried to make that play, the 50Bs were there to shoot them when they pushed out into the open. So there was just nowhere for those tanks to go once they committed. I like the idea out of CD. I think it's a relatively good plan. Now, there's a few little changes I would have liked to see. Get some eyes on the outside so they know when those tanks are rotating. Because if they had seen those 50Bs coming in and around, they had, say, a tier 8 light out there, they could have just driven all their guns forward and found some sort of overmatch right then and there, which is what that's what that strat's designed for, is to create some sort of overmatch.
Create an overmatch,
or
right.
to make their team pull into a bunch of autoloaders. And unfortunately, because
The
the
problem
50Bs
is
came in
they pulled
behind,
in.
exactly,
Yeah.
they couldn't really open that up, and Apex walked away with the victory.
That's really unfortunate for X-Soldier. I almost feel for him right now. Seeing is that I can promise you he wanted that victory over Apex, but it's tough.
Yeah, and Akula doing 4,100 damage, so not bad there. But then external, one of those 50Bs that came around, along with Nits, 3,200 and 1,400 out of those flanking 50Bs. Nits did get focused down pretty early, however, external pumped out a lot of damage. And Canadian Impact, even in that tier 9 at 2,000.
Pompous, though, Pompous is still very consistent. I mean, there's a reason that he's one of the top damage dealers in the entire league.
Yep, and something I just want to point out again is, this time we did have a cool up being the outlier at 4,100. But then after that, 3,200, 2,000, 1,500,
Yeah, again,
1,500,
the spread from
1,400.
Apex just continues to be impressive and robotic at the same time.
They just managed to keep all their guns into the fight consistently, and that's
it's kind of ridiculous at this point.
And that's something they've done so well. That's why they come out on top of a lot of these brawls. Is they're able to find positions where all 7 of their guns can be into those fights and pump out a lot of damage. And when you can do that so consistently, it tends to put things in your favor.
Yeah, well, we are going to be joined by Comps for the umpteenth time. There's only one time we haven't been joined, and that was last time they lost to Eclipse. So welcome, Comps. Congratulations. So this is my question to you. So after tonight's victory, you are guaranteed to come to the North American finals. You get to meet me. I know you're super excited for that. I'm excited to meet you. But even though that's said, I know you're not taking your foot off the gas, so to speak. You are still going to take every team in the North American region as a threat, especially going into the finals. But looking past that, if you are, what are the European or CIS teams that you're really looking to want to compete with?
Well, we've sort of missed out on our shots versus Na'Vi and Hellraisers when we went to China for WCA. So it'd be nice to get a chance to go, toe-to-toe with those guys. But as for EU, Ding looks strong right now. So, I'd say those would probably be the 3 that we'd like to go against.
Awesome.
So your last match of the regular season, just something I want to ask you about real quick. Last match of the regular season is going to be M60s. Match that was pretty close last time. How do you guys feel going into that right now? Do you think that they can pull one over to you and maybe give you that loss finally?
No, we're doing the same as always, taking one match at a time. So, I mean, we haven't really thought about that match yet. We're focused on 07 on Thursday. So once we're done with 07, then we'll start focusing on that match.
Awesome. Well, I have one final question, and it's in regards to X-Soldier. Is there any final words you had for him, even though you defeated him tonight, before we let you
go? No, I mean, like, best of luck to him and his new team. Hopefully he can turn those guys around and get enough points to, come to the finals again, because, he's a great guy and love to hang out with him again.
Awesome. Well, I really respect that answer from you, especially to a former teammate. Again, congratulations tonight, man. You guys, what is there to say? Yeah, there's a reason you are the top team, and it's because you're the most consistent. So we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks.
What is there to say?